The 2025 NFL season is over. The Seattle Seahawks are the Super Bowl champions, and we are 1 year, almost 1 year, removed from the 2025 NFL draft. We've seen these players join their teams and make impacts in their rookie year. Today, we're going to look back at the 2025 draft and see what worked out in year one and what needs more growth. So, this is Son of a Sports, and today, let's revisit the 2025 NFL draft. I've been debating about how I can make this the easiest experience to watch for y'all, where I can organize this while also getting all my thoughts together. Do I do multiple parts of this? Do I do just the first round? I don't really want to do that. I'm not someone that just does letter grades and calls it a day. I think I'm going to go through the first round and talk about each team's draft as a whole through each pick. And if that takes multiple parts, that's okay. We can get through picks 1 through 16 today and maybe picks 16 through 32 or 17 through 32 in another video. But today, we're going to start with Tennessee, talk about their draft, and specifically their number one overall pick in Cam Ward. For Cam Ward, I think in year one, you saw a few really great things. I think you saw confidence, you saw real arm talent, you saw fluidity from a player that not a lot of people were expecting to be the fastest, and you saw a lot of hero ball. There are things in his game that you kind of get concerned about. The pocket awareness, getting way too hero ball-like, and trying to make too much out of nothing. But at the same time, the situation the Titans gave him in year one wasn't great. The offensive line was nowhere near where you expected outside of Peter Skoronski. He was really good and really underrated. The running game was awful. The wide receiver core was horrid. When you turn on the tape, you see a player that just shines in a bad situation. Their entire draft, I think, was something I was kind of positive about. I still am kind of positive about. Olufemi Oladejo, I think he was pretty good in year one. A really clear run stopper and a guy that could fit well with Robert Saleh's doing if they go get someone like a David Bailey on the other side of the defensive line from him. Kevin Winston, I think, had potential, just slipped because of the injury issues, and falling to round 3 was kind of shocking for me. But at the same time, I think there's still something there. I have to see more. Chimere Dike, Alec Ayamanor, I think those players, they were okay in year one. Later round pick wide receivers. It was surprising Ayamanor falling around 4. But I think they still need a clear-cut wide receiver 1, maybe a wide receiver 2 in there, with those two players being support options. Also, DK almost did he break the record for most all-purpose yards in a season? Special teamer. Gunnar Helm was a fine selection. I think this team needs so much more to surround Cam Ward, but I'm positive coming out of year one in what Cam Ward did. The Jaguars traded up for the number 2 pick in the draft, and they took Travis Hunter at number 2, like most of you know. I think the Travis Hunter experiment in year one was weird. He was not the best at corner, but he definitely showed some flashes there. And at wide receiver, the numbers were never going to be the full story for him, but I think he did a lot for their offense, and his injury directly led to them trading for Jakobi Meyers to do the same role that Travis was doing. And yes, it opened up the offense better, but I think that's because of Jakobi's skill set already being a set wide receiver in the NFL compared to Travis Hunter, who was having to get adjusted. I think for this pick to really be worth it, he has to make a real leap in year 2, preferably at corner, which is what we're already hearing in reports. Jacksonville made such a big leap in 2025 compared to 2024, with mostly the same roster and getting very little from their draft class. Since we're purely talking about the draft class, I think they need more from it. Bichal Tutin showed some serious flashes in year one that I like from a backup running back. Wyatt Mullum immediately contributed on the offensive line. But Caleb Branshaw, their second pick in the draft, the safety they got in the third round at pick 88, he didn't play the entire year. Jack Kaiser barely played, and they didn't get much from the later rounds. I need to see more for me to be more confident in this draft as a whole going forward, specifically in Travis Hunter, Caleb Branshaw, and some of the later round picks, even if later round picks you're not supposed to see much from. Mullum and Tutin make this draft look a lot better right away, but Travis Hunter really has to step up in year 2. Really excited for the player that he can be, but it needs to be more. The Giants selected Abdul Carter at 3, and I loved this pick immediately. Yes, they had Kayvon and Brian Burns, but Abdul Carter was the number 1 player in this draft class going into it. And in year 1, he had 66 pressures as a rotational edge rusher. Yes, he only had 4 sacks, but pressures are the indicator for what a player really is, not sacks. Sacks vary so much on a year-to-year basis. Yes, a ton of sacks are amazing, perfect, awesome. But players like his teammate, for example, Kayvon Thibodeaux, they've had years with 10 sacks, and people still don't consider him a top edge rusher. Why? because pressures are really what tells the full story. And it told the story that Abdul Carter is immediately a real NFL talent that has the potential of being one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, giving the Giants security for if Kayvon Thibodeaux leaves in free agency or when Brian Burns starts declining. They also got Jackson Dart in the first round, a pick I was very critical of at the time, but Jackson in year one looked really, really good. He showed things that you like a lot, creativity, arm talent that I wasn't really expecting to see. I didn't see pop on tape at Ole Miss. Accuracy in some ways that I really liked. 15 passing touchdowns to only 5 picks and 9 rushing touchdowns. He's fluid. He has a good arm. I'm excited to see what Jackson Dart can be in year 2, and even if that means Matt Nagy's his offensive coordinator. I loved the 3rd round pick, Darius Alexander, at the time. Thought they really got the final piece they needed for their interior and their defensive line as a whole. But Alexander in year 1 did not show much at all. He really struggled to get real playing time, was not on the active roster to start the year because they didn't trust him to play yet. As a 25-year-old rookie, I thought if this pick's going to work, he has to play and contribute right away. And he didn't. It did not really work. Maybe he makes a leap in year 2, but he's already so late in his development, I don't know what player he can be. Scatabo, before the injury, looked really, really good, getting in that playing time and showing that this is a really good player to have on your team. If he recovers fully, I think there's something to be had with him. Marcus Mimbo also gives the Giants some flexibility in their interior offensive line going forward, maybe even playing right tackle at a certain point. I like this draft because you got 2 players at 2 of the most important positions in the league. A possible franchise quarterback, and then also a guy that is in contention for the best player out of this draft class. Good job, Giants. For the Patriots, I still think they had a really good draft class. I know people are really skeptical of Will Campbell, but I mean, the guy had a serious knee issue towards the end of the season, came back and struggled in the playoffs, and it was clear a large part of that was the knee issue. There's a lot to be seen with him in year 2, but I'm still confident in him based off what he did early in the season. TreVeyon Henderson obviously has some issues when it comes to being a full running back. We know that. We understand that. But what we also know is in year 1, he didn't start the year, barely got any playing time, and went on to have 900 yards as a rookie, a backup rookie, 9 touchdowns. He's a home run hitter. He's a really good rotational piece that you can make a key part of your team and a good backup, maybe even a starter in the long term in a rotational role. It's not the end of the world that he has some vision issues. It is a problem, sure, but the guy has real tools to still be good at the NFL level, and the playoffs were definitely not great for him, but I also think the run blocking wasn't perfect or ideal. Kyle Williams, I love that pick. Jared Wilson, good pick. I think he might need to get moved to center. Craig Woodson really helped easing the safety room that was getting rid of a Peppers and a Kyle Duggar. Woodson came in, was immediately good. They got a kicker in this draft class. I think this is a draft that you have to look at and say, this helped us make a Super Bowl right after ending up with the 4th overall pick. This was a good draft. The Browns traded back from 2 to 5, and I think it's always somewhat of a win if you get an extra first the following year and a second this year in a trade back. Only 3 picks. They end up with a 3-tech that helped Myles Garrett break the sack record in Mason Graham. Graham had his issues, started the year pretty well, struggled through the mid part of the year, and ended off a lot better than you'd think. The thing with Graham is it's a hard position to adjust to. I will never not say that. It's one of the hardest positions to adjust to at the NFL level. Defensive tackle in college, defensive tackle in the NFL, it's hard. Carson Schwarzenegger, you got the defensive rookie of the year in the 2nd round, a guy that it was risky because he finally came into his own his last year at UCLA and then came in and was really good at UCLA. You take him in the 2nd round and he's immediately one of the best linebackers in the NFL, wins defensive rookie of the year, like I said. And yeah, you got 2 pieces on your defense that was already almost historic 2 years ago. You're getting younger there. You're helping Myles Garrett into the final stages of his career. And yeah, Judkins, you really have to hope that his injury is not career threatening, that it doesn't take away everything he showed in year 1. Over 800 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns behind an offensive line that's regressing and one of the worst in the National Football League. In 14 games, he was really, really good and the highlight of the offense next to Harold Fannin Jr., your 3rd round pick. Fannin Jr., oh my God, he was special. 700 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. I mean, there's not a lot to say other than a lot of people did not like the pick. A lot of people did not think he could be that good at the NFL level, didn't think he was athletic enough to play tight end. And in year 1, he was really freaking good. One of the best in the National Football League and breaking rookie records. Or, I mean, enough have been broken by Brock Bowers at this point, but you know what I mean. Immediately having 700 yards as a rookie tight end is an accomplishment. And yeah, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I mean, they're late round quarterbacks. You probably should have taken other pieces, but yeah, there's not much to say there. And then Dylan Sampson didn't show much in year one, showed more as a receiving back, but I still want to see him grow as a running back 2 and a running back 3 going forward. Still think it was a fine pick to take in the 4th round. For the Raiders, I thought their draft was giving them a chance to actually be good in 2025. But as you know, they ended up being the worst team in the NFL in 2025. I was completely wrong about everything when it came to the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty, I think he was the one highlight of this team offensively in 2025. I mean, 900 yards, almost 1,000 yards on the ground, 5 receiving touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. He dealt with a lot with this offensive line being horrid, the offensive play calling not being good, and he still produced. There is real potential there. It's just the process of taking him over an offensive lineman was weird. But I think a lot of people viewed that Raiders offensive line better than they were, and I thought the Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant picks at 98 and 99 were going to help if the offensive line struggled. Well, those two really couldn't stay healthy a lot of the time. They weren't getting on the field. The offensive line coaching was awful. It was a disaster in Vegas. And Jack Beck and Dante Thornton Jr. both significantly struggled as rookies, with Beck struggling to get on the field in the first place. I mean, he was active for 16 games, but he was barely getting on the field to produce. And, I mean, he finished with 200 yards, and Thornton finished with 135. They both were not very good the rookie years, and there's a lot of concern of what Thornton could be in the long term with a lack of fluidity, a lack of route running, and just a limited player for what people thought he could be. Darian Porter struggled a lot as a rookie as well. Still room to grow there as a late 3rd round or an early 3rd round pick. It's a mess. This draft class did not age very well in year 1, and there's still so much room to grow for year 2. But I think there's still potential for, Grant and Rogers to have real contributions on the offensive line. Porter can still grow, and Beck and Thornton, you just got to wait it out. The Jets had the 7th pick, and they took Armand Membo. I think this was the right pick to take, considering where their roster was. There wasn't a quarterback there for them to take. Wide receiver, weird spot. They still need to figure out that room. Running back was just taken off the board. Offensive line would have been helpful, and they lost 2 tackles in free agency the previous year. Actually, one retired. Morgan Moses went to the Patriots. Go take an offensive tackle right there that could really complete your offensive line, and they did that. Membo in year 1, stellar. In his first game against TJ Watt, he was a serious threat to TJ Watt, almost shutting him down in the run game and the pass game. I think Membo had some struggles in year 1, but for most of the year, you walk out feeling like you got a franchise right tackle on the other side of a guy that you're starting to be more confident that he can be a franchise left tackle in Olu Fashanu. Mason Taylor had some flashes in year 1. I can't fully grade this pick because this passing offense is as bad as you think it could be. Taylor showed flashes in a few games. It just wasn't fully there for a full season because the quarterback play wasn't really there for a full season. Azariah Thomas showed some stuff in his first year in the league. I think there's room to grow there. This is a DB core that had no picks for an entire season, so it's not great, but interceptions aren't the only thing that matters for a defensive back. They didn't get much out of the later round picks, which, okay, this is still a team that I think got a great first pick, a good second pick that there's still more to see, and then you hope some of the later guys can give you some more down the road. We move on to the Panthers, and I actually really was excited about their draft class and continue to be. I think Ted McMillan in year 1, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year for a reason. 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. The player is there. The wide receiver 1 is there for the Panthers going forward. And this wide receiver rebuild they've done, it's good. It's really good. Nick Scort in the 2nd round, Gig'em. I was so excited about this pick because the potential is 100% there. It was at that last season at A&M where he played thicker, heavier, and was more of a run defender than anything else, and it limited what the pass rush was looking like for scouts. But at Purdue, that pass rush was there, and it showed in year 1 with 4.5 sacks, and he was still a really good run defender. Princely Unaman, I still think there's more to look at there. I would rather see some more in year 2 for me to be more confident in him. I think it was a fine approach with the pick. Trevor Etienne, again, rotational role wasn't the biggest provider in year one outside of special teams. Lathan Ransom, I actually like what I saw in year one. This DB rebuild they've done as well, I think has been pretty solid. And Ransom was a good piece that started 6 games in year one, got an interception, was a really good run defender more than anything else. The coverage needs to grow, but there was stuff to like there. Mitchell Evans and Jimmy Horn, fine additions in the later rounds. Evans is more used as a blocker more than anything else, but still was able to get 2 touchdowns and 171 yards. And Horn, I mean, the coaching staff clearly is confident with what Horn has a little bit. Yes, he dropped that ball to end the season, but I still think there's something to like with Horn. We stay in the NFC South at pick 9, and that was the Saints. A year later from the draft, I feel so much better about it than I did when it happened. I was actually fully skeptical about it. I wasn't sure about Kelvin Banks, and I was very confused that the Saints, who have drafted almost the most amount of linemen since 2019, took another lineman. I mean, Eric McCoy, Gig'em, Cesar Ruiz, Trevor Penning, Talisi Fuaga. This was an interesting pick for a guy that not a lot of people, analyst-wise, were that confident in or were fully sure about. Banks had footwork issues in college. He had strength issues. He certainly had arm length issues. People didn't know if he was going to be a guard or a tackle. And in year one, he was really good at left tackle. He blew me away. I was even more skeptical about Tyler Shuck at 40. And 26-year-old rookie quarterback coming in with Derek Carr, who they still had Derek Carr. He hadn't announced his retirement yet. And Spencer Rattler, I was confused. Even when Carr retired, I was like, you're not going to start your top 40 pick that's 26 years old going into the year? I mean, okay. But he comes in halfway through the season and helps the Saints get to a real point. I think that there's a lot of things that need to grow for this team. There's still a lot of things they have to fix. But this was a great first year under Kellen Moore with this draft class. Shuck, Banks, Sanker, Stutzman, Riley. I think these were all good picks. Even Devin Neal in the 6th round, who ended up actually having a few good games coming in after Kamara gets hurt, after their other running backs get hurt. Neal comes in, gives you 200 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also gets hurt, but this is a good draft after year one. Maybe it's an anomaly, but I'm more confident in the Saints because of this draft class than I've been in years. Chicago had pick 10, and they took Colston Loveland. I think this entire draft for Chicago left me a little confused, but I was like, Ben Johnson's building something specific here, and he did. Colston Loveland in year one, the first half of the year wasn't great. Then against the Bengals, I think that's where you really saw there is something here with this kid, and it is coming. And his playoff debut against the Packers had over 100 yards, was the Bears' leading receiver. He was unreal. He gives them security in the long term at a position that I think Ben Johnson wasn't that confident in. He's a really good blocker. He's unreal in the pass game. And they might have to move on with Cole Kmet with their financials getting a bit tighter. Luther Burden, again, more security for if they move on from DJ Moore, but also the fact that he has real superstar traits. The advanced stats scream this kid is going to be special at the NFL level. Ozzy Trapilo, a little bit more concerning out of year one because of the injury he suffered against the Packers in the playoffs. A patellar injury, it's bad. And it's rare guys come back the same player or ever become anything after that. It will limit him in the long term, but I was confused because I thought Braxton Jones is on the roster, Theo Benedict's on the roster, but then Trapilo comes in and is immediately a good left tackle for him in the 2nd round at pick 56. Wow. Shamar Turner at 62. I need to see more there. Only played 5 games. Gig'em, first of all. Second of all, yeah, there needs to be growth, but it's at a position they did need in the interior defensive line. And then Kyle Monangai makes this draft go all the way around in the 7th round, being a backup that gives Chicago exactly what they needed in the run game. He was really good in year one, and I'm excited for what he does for Ben Johnson in year 2. The 49ers had pick 11. They took Mykel Williams, and their draft as a whole leaves me wanting more. Mykel got hurt after 9 games. He tore his ACL, but he showed clear flashes as a run defender. There's room to grow as a pass rusher, but as a run defender, I think that trait's there. I think the athletic traits are certainly there. He just needs to come back and be himself and then continue to develop his pass rush game. It's hard to do off a torn ACL, but this isn't the 90s or 80s anymore. Guys can come back from that. Alfred Collins, CJ West, 2 players that I thought really would help San Francisco get more physical in their defensive line. And in year one, they were 2 of the bottom 5 run defenders in the entire league, according to PFF, or at defensive tackle. It's concerning, but it's not the end of the world. Again, a position that's really hard to transition into the NFL level, and these are 2 players that were drafted in the 2nd and 4th round. There's room to grow, but it's not the end of the world. Upton Stout in the third round, thought it was a little bit of a reach at the time, or thought, well, maybe you could get him later, but I thought it was a really, really exciting player for a team that was looking to rebuild their DB core. I thought, okay, he's probably going to fall a little later. Why would you take him here? I still love the player, but it obviously has been a lot better than I thought at the time, and he's been really good for him in year one. Nick Martin only played 7 games. You kind of want to see more there from a linebacker that in a linebacker core that suffered so many injuries. It's just rough. But yeah, I think there's room to grow, a lot of room to grow, and it's not the end of the world. I think they showed a lot in year one that you still kind of like. My Cowboys had the 12th pick, and I threw a trash can across my room when Tyler Booker was taken. I was skeptical of Tyler Booker. I was mad that the Cowboys took a guard at their best pick since Micah Parsons, or their highest pick since Micah Parsons, and it was just a weird pick for me. I was tired of Dallas taking O-line, then edge rusher. They have done it in 3 out of the last 4 drafts, 22, 24, and 25. But as you know, in year one, I think Tyler Booker was a really good pick for Dallas. He has aged really well and gives them security at their final position in the O-line that they needed to worry about. And they got to deal with right tackle in the long term. But for now, they kind of have a good core across their offensive line that finally gives them an ability to no longer take offensive line in the first round for a few years. Donovan Ezeraku in the second round. Look, I think that it took some time, but he grew a lot in year one. Siobhan Ravel coming off a torn ACL. I still want to see more, but I liked a little bit of what I saw. Again, struggled a bit coming off that torn ACL, but there was some things I liked. The later round picks, Cornelius might be an option for Dallas to try at right tackle in the long term. Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa didn't get much playing time in year one. Maffa is reportedly going to be more of an option for Dallas in his year two. Blue, there's some weird stuff there. I think it's mostly he just has a fumble issue, might limit him in the long term in the NFL. We'll see. Both players have good physical traits you like. Dallas, this is probably their best draft since 2022. They just really went to continue to build at the trenches and just get better in random other areas. It's not the best draft in the world, but it's one that Dallas kind of needed. The Dolphins had the 13th pick, and they really dealt with the trenches early. Kenneth Grant, obvious growing pains in year one. Nose tackle. Really hard to become that at the NFL level coming from college. But I think you really saw some growth once the year started really getting to that final stretch, and he had 29 pressures on the year. Not perfect rookie season, but it's fine for a guy at a position that is really hard to play. 17 appearances, played all 17 games, room to grow, but I liked what I saw towards the end. Jonas Viniaya, the 37th overall pick. Again, I liked the pick at the time, but it did not really work out well in year one. He really struggled at guard. It was bad. It was really bad. Towards the end of the year, he looked better for sure. I think there were some games where people were shocked at how he was actually playing at least decent, but I think there's still so much room to grow. Like he's going to need to develop a lot for him to become a real guard at the NFL level. Jordan Phillips, only 9 pressures on the year, but I think was a fine enough pick in the 5th round that I'm confident that he can develop into at least being a full rotational guy for this team in the long term. Ollie Gordon, I liked what I saw a bit. He made their running back room and their offense more physical, which is something that Miami has struggled with for a long time, especially since the Mike McDaniel era. They have been kind of a weak team, and Ollie gave them someone that wants to hit, someone that wants to get hit. 3 touchdowns on the ground, almost 200 yards as a running back 3, and running back 2 for a large part of the year, and receiving touchdown. Quinn Ewers came in towards the end of the year. He was okay. He wasn't great. 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. It wasn't perfect what you saw, but it was fine for a 7th round pick quarterback that was thrown in at the end of the year for your once franchise guy. I think the Colts at 14 got exactly what they needed in Tyler Warren. This was a team that clearly needed a tight end. It's rare to point out how a team needs a tight end. That's the one specific position that this team is lacking. But it worked. Warren in year 1, 800 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown I think it was a tush push. I think it worked. I think it was a good rookie year for a guy that not a lot of people understood what his floor was going to be at the NFL level, or what his ceiling was going to be. I think if this is going to be what he's consistently at for the rest of his career, 800 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, that's a heck of a first-round pick at tight end. He's a really good player, and I still think there's even more room to grow. He has a lot of different skills that you can get creative with, which Shane Steichen really tried to do in year one. Yes, a little bit of it fell off at the end. I think there was definitely potential for him to be a 1,000-yard tight end, but he had quarterback issues. Daniel Jones tore his Achilles. It's the later rounds that leave me wanting more. I think if this is your last year having a first-round pick until 2028, only one pick really working out in year one isn't great. DJ Giddens barely got on the field, barely showed much. Riley Leonard was barely trusted at all. JT Tumalau didn't really play much to start the year, was inactive. Then you play him and he gets 0 sacks, barely gets any pressures. There needs to be more from him. And it's a 45th overall pick in a draft class. A lot of people thought from picks 10 to 50, it's going to be around the same talent. And you walked away with only a tight end. I think Warren's great, but this draft class, you need more. Justin Whaley didn't play a game on the year. Jalen Travis barely gave you anything. He was a rotational tackle. Giddens and Leonard, you just need more. The Falcons had 15 and they took Jalen Walker. I think Walker, for a player that was going to be raw early in his career, 5.5 sacks is something you really like. There is room to grow for sure, but he was a really good run defender. He was really athletic in year one and a lot more polished than I thought he was going to be. Xavier Watts in the 3rd round, I loved the pick, thought he was a great player and possibly Atlanta's best safety in 2025. I think Jesse Bates kind of regressed a bit in his coverage skills, and Watts was really good right away. Billy Bowman Jr. only played 6 games, but also gave me some confidence in what he could be at the NFL level. And I thought it was a really good pick for Atlanta in the 4th round at pick 118. The issue with this draft is James Pierce Jr. 10.5 sacks in year one is great, but now his career might be over with really bad choices he made, and also you're left without a first-round pick in 2026. I think no matter what, it was kind of weird processing. If Pierce Jr. was going to be the player you really wanted, why not take him at 15? And you took both defensive ends, and we're going to have this young tandem of the future. You can't really criticize Atlanta for taking a player that you didn't know was going to do this. All you heard from college was he was missing practice or late to practice. But also, there were people that said this could happen, that bad things could happen. I can't really criticize a team that already fired the GM and coach that decided to do this. The GM in his last year, where he probably knew he was a lame duck GM, decided to trade away a first-round pick in a year where he might not be the GM anymore for a player that had a lot of baggage. It's rough. I feel really bad for Falcons fans because he showed so much as a rookie. He shut up all the critics that were mad about the trade. But now this happens, and it's the worst possible scenario. It feels like you're cursed all over again. Our final pick today is 16, Arizona. They took Walter Nolan Jr., and I think he was really good. Is it Walter Nolan Jr.? Either way, he was really good in year one in the 6 games he played. Kind of the issue there. He needs to stay healthy. This is a guy that in college didn't have much numbers at Texas A&M Gig-'em, but a lot of people were excited about because he was the number 1 prospect in Texas A&M's history. Even beat out Von Miller for that. Then he goes into Ole Miss, puts up the number and says, I am an NFL caliber guy. I'm not only that, I'm a first-round caliber guy. Goes to the NFL, and Arizona has to fix their entire injury prevention system. Their weight room's a mess. Everything is a mess in Arizona, and no one calls it out because they're kind of, a lot of people say irrelevant, but I don't want to say that. They're just forgotten. Will Johnson in the 2nd round, steal. A lot of people were worried about the knee. They get him in the 2nd round and immediately shows, I am that guy. If he can stay healthy, there is all pro potential there. Jordan Birch, Cody Simon, they didn't show much in year one. I think Simon showed a little bit more, but I think that were still fine picks for where they were taken. It's just trying to deal with positions that have been regressing for you on your defense. Denzel Burke, I think, was a fine 5th round pick. Gives them some talent in their cornerback room, and also gives you a player that at one point was considered a possible 2nd round pick. You want to see more in the long term from Simon and Birch. You want to see health from Johnson and Nolan, but I think this was a fine enough draft for what it was, which was Atlanta thinking that they were closer than they were to be a possible playoff team and getting players that were still young, still had a lot of talent, and they just need to get lucky with health. So that's part 1 of my revisit to the 2025 NFL Draft. I went through the first 16 teams that picked in the 2025 NFL Draft, which means my last part of this, which is part 2, I won't include the Giants and the Falcons because I already talked about them. We'll do 14 teams, and probably at the end I'll talk about my favorite drafts I might say my least favorite drafts, but I don't know. I'm not too negative when it comes to this. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Please like and subscribe. Love you all. This is Son of a Sports, and I'll catch you next time.